I think when they come to write the history of women's sport, and sport in general, 2017 will be seen as the year of the big breakthrough. Headline, I'd say, is England winning the Women's World Cup at Lord's. Such a traditional sport, such a difficult sport over the years for women to break through in terms of just being given jobs in the first place. And you think of all the work Rachel Hayhoe-Flint had done in her lifetime, and my one real regret is that she didn't live long enough to see that. You know, what an incredible triumph and brilliant individual performance from Anya Shrubsole. But I interviewed her not long ago and she said she was rubbish through the whole tournament until the final, so she needed to do something. But a great example of team spirit and I think staying committed even though it looks like you're going to lose. And interesting that Alex Danson and the Great Britain hockey team talked to the England cricket women and they helped prepare them. So it really shows you that women's sport will grow from other successes. It will use, you know, they can piggyback from different sports. And the England women's football team reaching the semi-finals of the European Championships, obviously everybody wishes they could have reached the final, but they lost to the hosts and the eventual champions. I don't think there's any disgrace in that. The big thing for me was that it was the biggest audience ever for a women's football match on Channel 4, who committed completely to covering those European Championships and have set up a feeling of demand for women's football. So the BBC, who have got the World Cup in 2019, are now looking around going, oh, hello, everybody else seems to want this as well. And they might end up in a sharing operation, who knows. But it means there's more demand for the Women's Super League because people know those players. And Jodie Taylor winning the Golden Boot was obviously a great individual thing for her. But she, again, a bit like Anya Shrubsole, just goes, it's the team, it's the team, it's the team. And the third team sport I think that really benefited this year was women's rugby. And reaching the final of the World Cup, it being live on a Saturday night on ITV, and a fantastic match against New Zealand. I mean, a really terrific match. A great advert for the sport, and yes, England didn't win, but you know, nobody could have watched that and said, oh, women couldn't or shouldn't play rugby. So a lot of stereotypes, I think, have been challenged, and of course that's been happening for the last 100 years, but the big step forward for me is that the audiences came to women's sport this year. They came in numbers to support, but they came in television viewers and in radio listeners. And the newspapers that still are so slow to write about women's sport, they're just missing the boat. It's happening online, and actually that's where most young people are getting their information. That's where they're learning more. And I think that's actually really of a benefit to women in sport because they're so giving. They're so good at talking about what they do, and they want to share and they want to help promote their sport, not for their own personal gain, but for the sake of everybody else. And I am just so thrilled. I go to a lot of schools at the moment and I talk about my book and I talk about the lessons that we can learn from sport. And I say to those girls, you are the first generation who have grown up knowing that your sporting dreams can be as big as the boys in this school, and you can achieve them and you can get paid. And you can make a living out of playing football or playing rugby or playing hockey or playing cricket or doing athletics or swimming. The world is yours. You can do this. And that's a massive leap forward. And I hope over the next few years what we'll see is actually a greater demand for tournaments, a greater access, or certainly a higher value for players. They'll be getting paid more, they'll be more attractive to sponsors, they will be much higher profile in terms of awareness. That comes with a negative side as well, and I don't think any of them are under any illusions about that. I don't think any of them want to be paid as much as men footballers, certainly. I think they all think that's ridiculous, and it is. But it would be nice if they were at a level where they're earning really well, because their careers are going to be short. You know, they're not going to be able to play into their late 30s. And for that reason, I do think sports people should, you know, they deserve it while they can get it. So we've got a Commonwealth Games next year. We've got a Winter Olympics, a Winter Paralympics. We've got a World Equestrian Games. There are lots more opportunities. And then obviously we're building up to Tokyo 2020, and by the time we get there's a Women's World Cup football actually as well in 2019. I think there's a lot more to come, and I think we're going to see this sort of jostling now for position in terms of covering women's sport, and that's healthy and that's good and that's progress.